Hello, hello, hello. Hopefully I did this right. This is live. Okay, so I think I messed it up. I'm over here. Hello, hello, hello. Hopefully I did this right. This is live. Okay, so I think I messed it up. I'm over here. Hello, hello. I did this right. Oh well, so I'm just going to start on this one here. Other people are waiting on the other one. I'm sorry. I tried to make that announcement, but for some reason it didn't start. Let me just check. Yeah, people are over here. Let's see. All right, so let's get this going. So today we're going to be printing from this block again. Last night I carved out the little islands. I feel bad because I invited people ahead of time, and for some reason that didn't start the live stream. It just started a new live stream. So when I go over to here, there's 3 people waiting. So I'll have to figure out how to do that properly next time. All right, so we have 3 people over here. Let's just adjust this camera a little. Here we are. Sorry, these take a minute to get going. So we were printing from this block today. I finished the carving this morning. And this will be the second to the last impression on this print, I think. So here we go. Need my brush. So today we're going to be using, this is just a small brush, little handheld brush. It's perfect for this size job. So there's some water in this brush here. Just moisten the block to get it started. And I'm a little unsure about the color today, so I'm going to start with what I have here. It's going to be a pretty dark impression. It's like a blue-green. I'm really going to load the pigment on to start. Little paste too. Just kind of work it into the brush here. So we got 5 people on here. Sorry if I kept you waiting on the other announcement for today's live stream. I don't know why it didn't just start on that one. Still figuring all this live stream stuff out. So apologies if you were waiting over there. So we can just take a little impression on a piece of scrap paper just to see what we're looking like here. So this was an impression earlier. This will be going over top of it. Something like that. Dropping things over here. So in the beginning, I just have to keep applying the ink and let the wood just soak in the pigment and the brush until I get it to where it seems like it's a good amount of ink on the block that I can start printing the addition. It's looking pretty good. I'm liking that color. It's like a blue purple color. I just want to go back and check and see if people are still waiting. Yeah, there's still 3 people waiting over here. Oh, well, hopefully they figure it out. So I think I'm going to start with my test sheet that's in my pack here. We'll see what this looks like. So this is currently what the print looks like. Let's see how this goes. And here we go. Well, it's quite dark. It's a big difference. It might almost be too dark. There was going to be one more impression after this one, so I want to leave a little bit of value there to get to almost black. So this one should be a little bit lighter. Again, on a test sheet. It's a little bit better, I think. Welcome, Five Knives. I'm glad you found my channel. Thanks for your comment. For newbies, I would recommend starting printmaking with some linoleum, some lino cut, because it's cheap, the tools are pretty inexpensive, and you can easily get a roller, some oil pigment, maybe just do a black and white, just get some black oil pigment. And I think that's the best way to start, where it gets you figuring out how to carve, gets you figure out how to transfer your image to the block. It gets you can make mistakes, and you're not wasting a lot of time and money on expensive materials. And you can get really... Alright, we're going to some new paper, or some good paper for this one. So this is the nicer paper. So we'll see how it looks on this paper. And yeah, and you won't invest tons of money in buying all these tools for woodblock printmaking and finding the right paper. And so I would start with linoleum. So lino cut, maybe a relief print, or just do a solid, like one color print, like black and white. And start there and see how you like it. And then you just keep expanding. You could do multi-block color blocks with linoleum. You could do multiple colors. You can also carve wood if you have chisels or you have tools already. You could just carve some Shina plywood is a good way to start. And you can use either oil-based pigments or water-based pigments. And you can use just some watercolor. If you want to do water-based printmaking, mokuhanga, you could just use some watercolor tubes to start. You don't have to buy any like real fancy pigments. Alright, so let's see how this looks. There we are. So there will be a darker impression that shows the structure of these trees a little bit more. So right now I think that's a decent level of value. I might go a little bit darker because this is going to lighten up as it dries. So for right now I'm just going to leave this one. I'm going to print the next one a little bit darker. So I'm going to start paying attention to how many drops. So I'm going to put 2 drops, just a little bit, like 2.5 drops for each of these impressions. Yeah, it really depends like what you have. If you have some chisels, some wood chisels, or you have access to certain tools, just use whatever you can get and just try and see how it works. So here it is again. It's a nice sheet of paper. And it's starting to come together. So I'm going for this evening, just after the sun goes down. down below the horizon, and the sky is still light, but everything's getting dark. And so I made these little, I have some of these here. This is a printmaking technique where I cut stencils. It's the same subject matter. It's all from the same image, but these are like little studies I did first before I started this project. And the technique is a French technique called pochoir, and it translates to stencil essentially. So I cut out all these little shapes in the sky, all these little holes in the water. Every shape you see I cut out of a piece of just a card, like a thick copy paper. And I then used the stencil with some acrylic paint. And this is just a piece of mat board that I put some gesso on. And I registered them just like I would woodblock print with Kento. And I made these cool little landscapes, some color studies of the same subject matter, and I thought those would be something nice to show you today. What's up, Marius? Is it Marius or Marius? See, this first one I did is already a little dry. Marius. Gotcha. So this is a little dry already. This is the first one I did, and you can tell it's already, the value kind of lowers as it dries. So if you can imagine this paper being wet, the image looks a little bit darker. So this one I just printed, it's still quite wet with the ink, and this one's dry, so it's a little bit faded, a little bit more subtle. But I think it's going quite well because there is going to be one more value on top of this. So I'm liking the way this is reading. I don't want it to be too dark because there will be another value on top. So I think I'm at a good level here, and I can just keep printing. So that's about two dots of pigment. Hey, he's from Denmark. We got a new person from Denmark. And man, I should remember this. Marius, you're in... Remind me where you are again? I got to start keeping track of this. Yesterday we had some people from North Carolina, Scotland. We've had some people from Japan on these streams. South Africa. A couple days ago we had a gentleman from Poland. So we're getting people from all over the world on these live streams already, which is very cool. And that's my goal, is to share my process with people to hopefully get them. South Africa, yes. Welcome back. My goal is to get these people interested in printmaking, maybe so they can start to do it themselves, or just follow along and enjoy the process. But that's kind of my goal, is to share my process from the beginning to start. So these live streams seem to be working because you really do get to see what it entails. A print, just showing the finished print. There's just so many steps along the way. Even from the beginning, when you have to size paper, or you're planning how you plan the print, and you plan the design of the print. So I'm really I want to be 100% transparent and just show you every step of the way. And hopefully you can learn something from it. So we got one more impression after this. Sure, that's great. My work is available on my website if you're interested. And it's just my name, StephenWinecki.com. I was showing these earlier, these pochoir stenciling prints with some liquid acrylic paint. It's kind of how I worked out the sky values and colors that I wanted to go for in the print. And these were really fun to make. They look quite well on the camera too. And it's just simplified graphic shapes, but I think they're fun. And I get this little shadow reflection in the water on these. Thank you, Marius. I appreciate that. I'm glad you're enjoying it. And this little brush, I don't use it too often. It's pretty new. But they're nice for these little small jobs here. It's working out nice. So today in New York City, it's cooler. I think we're back down in the 50s today. Yesterday was almost 80 degrees. And today we're back down to the 50s. It's overcast. And yesterday, I wasn't able to play pickleball with my cousin because it rained. And then we were going to go to this new place that opened that's indoors, but they closed early because it was their first day. So I didn't get to play any pickleball yesterday. It's starting to create some nice atmosphere, some distance. So this brush is very loaded with pigment, and the wood is really started to absorb the ink into it as well. So I can back off of how much pigment I'm putting on. As you go along, you can kind of back off a little bit. It's actually a pretty quiet day today out there. In New York City, it's usually really loud, but today is Sunday. I'm actually enjoying the peace and quiet right now. So let's do a before and after comparison. I'll grab another sheet here. So we can show the difference. It's quite a difference one impression makes from the next. So this is what it's like before this impression, and this is after. And for all of you that haven't seen this, I just keep my prints in this plastic pack here. I can set this down. And I just have 2 layers. You can see all the prints inside there. And this, just keep everything in here is the same moisture level. The paper's got some moisture in it. It just keeps everything at the same level, same humidity level. I'm drying these prints after I take the impression. Just put them off to the side in a drying rack. And I leave them in the pack for at least an hour, maybe a little longer sometimes, before I start printing, just so the paper equally absorbs all the moisture. You want to print on a paper that's dampened, not too much. It's similar to like a sponge, where if you have a soaking wet sponge, you're not going to absorb up a spill. But when you wring that sponge out and it's still damp, it really absorbs the mess well, the moisture, water, whatever you're picking up with the sponge. And that's similar to how the paper needs to be. Yeah, I'm creating atmosphere in their print or their work. We're creating depth. So working in this manner, this relief printmaking, where you're just layering, it naturally will create a nice atmosphere because there's multiple transparent layers on top of each other. So you really get this nice sense of depth or space naturally. Are you an artist yourself, Marius? And when I'm doing the rubbing with the Baron, I'm really trying to keep it flat so that I don't roll over, you know, these edges, so I get a nice clean impression. But I did leave some of the border here, which helps keep this level. So as I'm rubbing, my Baron is still being supported at this bottom strip, which was the border. It's got to be quite late for you as well, South Africa. I don't know what the time difference is. It's going to be at least, what, 11:30 there, something like that? 10:30 at night. Well, that's great. So you are an artist. I wonder what kind of mediums do you work with? Printmaking or painting? So these are coming out nice. Starts to go really fast once you get in the rhythm of it. Okay, so you're 6 hours ahead of us. Well, you better get to bed. We'll keep this stream short for you so you can get to bed. I think I only have about 5 or 6 sheets left. Tomorrow, I'll probably do another live stream, and it'll be finishing this print. It'll be the last impression. I'm almost certain it will be the last impression. About 90% sure. Yeah, please do. You can find my email through my website, stephenwinecki.com. I have a contact. I have a contact there for you. So this ink is called, well, first of all, welcome, Kevin. This ink is called Guerra. It's Guerra is the company, Guerra Pigments. They're in Brooklyn now. They used to be in Manhattan for many years, I think since like the 60s or 70s. And they have this ink they're called liquid dispersions. So it's Guerra liquid dispersion. And they have all sorts of pigments. It's just pure pigment. In some sort of liquid. It's like essentially like water or alcohol or something. I don't know what it is, but. And then I mix in some. I'll show you in a second here. I'll go get an example of what I'm talking about. Hold on. Here we go. It's Guerra paint. GuerraPaint.com. Just comes in a little bottle like this. You can also get larger bottles, but this little bottle will last you a long time. And you have to look at the opacity if you're going to be doing this sort of printing with it. You have to look at the opacity levels and the tinting levels. There's a lot of interesting colors that you won't see on like regular paint, like oil paints or acrylic paints. So look at the opacity, the tinting strength, and they have another blue wool scale. I don't know what that is, but and just find the appropriate colors that you're looking for. And I'll also put in a couple drops of gum arabic into the pot of color. So it's a little bit of water and a little bit gum arabic, which is like a binder that they use for watercolors, just so it'll make the pigment a little bit more permanent in the fibers of the paper. And then I also use a little bit of this rice paste. But you can use watercolor pigment, just regular watercolor tubes, if you wanted to get started. It's a little bit more affordable. You know, you can just get the watercolor tubes like this. I'll show you here. You know, this is like just a Winsor Newton watercolor tube. You can buy these and use those. Use a little bit of gum arabic. You can pick this up from art stores, or even I think I got this on Amazon or something. And then I've used this stuff before, the Holbein, the Artist Pigment Paste. It's similar. It's the same thing as this Guerra paint, but man, this stuff went up super high in the price. Holbein. It's like $20 for this little bottle, and I think something like this will, you know, it's maybe 12 to, depends what kind of pigment you get, but it's from like $9 to, you know, $20 depending on if you're getting like a cadmium or something like that, or cobalt. You will pay more money for them, but this Holbein stuff is way overpriced, so I don't use that anymore. speedball ink. Like the speedball ink that you would use for like a pen and ink drawing. Is that the ink you're referring to? Is that like an acrylic based ink or? It's water based. It came in a starter kit. I'm curious where you got the starter kit from. Is it a mokuhanga starter kit or? Because I know some artists that use like speedball inks to get really saturated impressions. Like super intense, like pinks and darks and purples and. But I'm just wondering what the base is. Blick, you got it from Blick Art Supplies. I wonder what the starter kit was though. Was it like, I'm curious. I'll have to look into that. Yeah, I mean, I buy a lot of stuff from Blick. Some other papers, not for mokuhanga, but for other forms of printmaking. I buy a lot of the paper on Blick, and I buy a lot of other materials, like oil paints and brushes and all my oil pigments for lino cuts. I buy my linoleum from Blick. They have the most affordable prices. I only have 3 sheets left. That's going by really fast today. This is a simple little impression. It's been an enjoyable Sunday evening printing session though. It's been quiet outside. I got the house to myself at the moment. My wife and son are out running some errands. They're buying some supplies for, he has a science fair project that's due on Tuesday. We were just finishing up the project part of it. And now he needs to like decorate his board and print everything out and put it all together. So they went to Staples to buy some, I think some construction paper, and maybe some like letters to glue down or tape down for his science project. 3rd grade science fair. It's been a lot of work. His mother and I had to really help him. Yeah, oil pigments are really expensive. oil paints, I'm sorry. Especially if you're buying the high-end oils get crazy expensive. You use Vasari oils. Yeah, Vasari's a nice brand. Oh, they have a Vasari. Yeah, I've never used Vasari. I've used like Rembrandt, Winsor Newton, Williamsburg. Oh, a Speedy Carve soft block. Okay. So it's more like an oil based, Kevin. This is an oil based kit that you got. And so the inks that are coming, did you have to like squeeze the ink out of a tube? Because those most likely are not, unless it says on it it's water soluble or water based. They do have water soluble printing inks for like Western printing. I don't know how you dilute them. You have to mix in with some. You'd have to mix some oil into it, I believe. It's like some what is it called? I'm not sure off the top of my head. I'm gonna do some research though. Yeah, it says it's water soluble. Yeah, so you can wash it in with soap and water. You can wash your brush out or your brayer out. Yeah, I've never used the water soluble Western printing inks. I always use oil based. So just do a quick search, maybe on YouTube, like people that are using that pigment. And Blick sometimes has tutorials on their products. Or for Speedball, they have some tutorials on YouTube if you Google search it or search it on YouTube. So they might even have some mediums that you can mix in to thin it out. But with like the regular oil inks that I use, you really have to roll it out quite thin and take some time to like really work it nice and smooth and flat. And it's called warming up the ink. And you need to like really roll it out a long time. Yeah, Williamsburg paints are really nice. Very high end. Yeah, I pretty much just buy Winsor Newton these days. So that was my last sheet. So let's pull one from earlier. You can see how it kind of dries and it just kind of sets into the paper nicely. So that's today's job done. And I will carve and print the next layer tomorrow. And that should be the finish of this print. So that's all I had today for this live stream. It's 51 minutes. I think that's a pretty good amount of time to keep these live streams right around an hour. I appreciate all the people that are here. And I'll try to do one tomorrow. I'm not exactly what time. Not sure what time I'll do it tomorrow. Maybe I'll do it earlier in the morning, like 10 a.m. or something like that. I'm just going to do these at random times. I tried announcing it today, and then when I started the stream, it didn't go to that announcement. It just started a new channel, so I have to figure out how to do that on my phone so that it opens up right away. Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate you being here as well. Marius, some 7 other people. Five Knives was here earlier. Appreciate everyone joining in. So everyone enjoy the rest of their Sunday, and maybe I'll catch you tomorrow. Have a good night.